he has spoken on the topics faith, family and freedom in Cuba, Belgium, Brazil, Congo, UK and all over the USA to crowds from 14 to 40,000. International leadership speaker, trainer and coach. Author of Learn to Raw Leadership, Attitude Hack, Live a More Excellent Life, 5 Battle Strategies of a Victorious Warrior. 2021 President's Lifetime Achievement Award recipient. Founding partner of the John Maxwell team. Toastmaster International Speech Competition semi-finalist. Founder of Tell It Like It Is TV, ThatGuyRocks.com and ThatGuySpeaks.com. Creator of Story Power TV, Transforming Grace TV, and Leading Leaders Podcast. Producer of 4 TV programs and podcasts for Liftable TV and World Trumpet Television as well as multiple social media channels. Please help me welcome J Loren Norris.
You know, it's really hard when you're the kind of person who has a lot of different talents, skills, abilities. There are a lot of people out there with really high IQs and a lot of different abilities. For them, it's really hard sometimes to find a job because, well, on the one hand, you might be an overachiever, an overexceller. You do more than they expect of you. And on the other hand, you might find that you get bored with the job that you're supposed to be doing. And so you want to do everything else instead. I know, because that's been me on both ends of that spectrum for most of my life. But if you've ever figured out exactly what it is that you're made for, why you're here, what your purpose is, suddenly it changes the direction of focus and passion. That's what I want to talk about in this episode of Leading Leaders.
Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.
I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast, and I can tell you throughout the course of my life there have been those days that, I took a job because I needed the money. I took a job because the opportunity was there and they asked me to do it. I took a job because, well, I can, and why not? I can also tell you that through the course of my life, there have been a lot of those jobs that, well, they weren't rewarding. They didn't financially pay the way that they could have. And by that, I mean, because the task came so easy, I didn't really put a whole lot of effort into it. And so, I just got paid what everybody else got paid. I didn't become a superstar in that aspect of it. I just did what had to be done, and that was the end of it. And maybe you're resonating as a leader. You're thinking, I never really thought about it, but I've kind of done the same thing. I've taken the easy way out. I've taken the jobs that came easy to me. I've taken the opportunities that kind of hunted me down. I didn't pursue anything that took a great amount of effort. Now, let me juxtapose those of us in that category, because I know there are more than me. I'm not the only one. Let me juxtapose that to the champions in several fields, maybe multiple athletic endeavors. You look at a superstar like a Tom Brady or a Serena Williams, and you know that Tiger Woods even, they've focused their attention on one thing, one sport, all of their life. Every waking moment has been focused on that one thing. They know what it is that not only are they naturally gifted at, but they have a great amount of love and passion for. And it's the kind of thing that, well, like they say, if you love what you do, you never work another day in your life. Or if you find the thing that you're passionate about, set yourself on fire for it, the world will gather around to watch you burn. Well, whether that's as a candle or a heap of garbage, the world's still going to gather around to watch you burn if you set yourself on fire. But whether you're great at it or not, that's a whole different thing. I love the way John Maxwell says it. When you push as hard as you can at a thing, that whatever that thing is, it's being a better communicator, being a better accountant, a better athlete. If you're already a 3 or 4 or a 5 at it, and you push as hard as you can, you might move it up from a 3 or a 5 to a 5 or a 7. And as a 6 or a 7, you're just above average. If you start out as a 6 or a 7, you could push it up to become an 8 or a 9, maybe a 10. But most people are only going to push as hard as they can and move the needle on that scale of 1 to 10 by 2 points maximum. But if you find those things that you are so good at that you're already a 9 or a 10, when you push the envelope as hard as you can, when you study, when you train, when you discipline yourself, when you prepare yourself, when you grow in maturity to the capacity necessary to maximize your gifts, suddenly you're not a 7, 8, or 9 anymore. You're a 9, 10, or 11. And if you're already a 10, if you're already really good at what you do, you've got the natural skill of a Serena Williams or a Tom Brady, you've got the physical prowess and the height and the weight and the speed and the agility, and you can add to that understanding and knowledge and IQ, then suddenly you're not a 10. You're an 11, you're a 12, you're a 13. You got more Super Bowl rings than anybody in history, more Wimbledon wins than anybody in history, more Masters wins than anybody in history. And how does that happen? Well, let me put it like this, not by accident. Now, here's the challenge for those of us who are multi-talented and multi-skilled, and we have a lot of different skill sets, and a lot of people will pull on them. Here's what happens to those of us like that. If we're not disciplined in the calling of our own life, the purpose of our own life, then what happens is other people look at us like a Swiss Army knife. You can carry a Swiss Army knife in your pocket, and it does multiple things. In fact, the pocket knife that I have in my pocket right now is a firefighter's rescue knife, is what they would call it. It has a seatbelt cutter on the back. It has a regular blade. It has a quick flip for the blade access, so you can open with one hand. It has the glass breaker on it. It has a place for a lanyard on it. It has a serrated blade. No, this one does not have a serrated blade. But it does have the seatbelt cutter, the glass cutter, a regular blade, and the quick flip. Okay. Well, it's still just a pocket knife. But people will use this same device for, I don't know, a screwdriver, a pry bar, a hammer, so many different things that they will use it for that it wasn't made for. Will it do them? Kinda good. I mean, if you want to use it for pry bar, it'll do that for a while until you break the blade. If you want to use it for a screwdriver, again, it'll do that for a while until you break the blade. And you can use it for those things. But that's not what it's made for. See, the challenge for people who've not yet found their purpose in life is that they often get used by others for the skill sets that they make publicly known. Not that that's the only thing you could do, or even that it's the greatest thing you can do. But if you can do it better than them, sometimes they'll even pay you to do it. And they're perfectly okay with the fact that you're not aligned with your purpose. They're perfectly okay with the fact that you're not growing, you're not maturing, you're not stretching, you're not having to give the very best of you to go to the next level. But you are being used by them, and they're using you as, well, serving their purpose, not yours. You've become the pocket knife of their screwdriver set. You become the tool that they utilize when they need you. Not to maximize you, but to maximize them. Now, I need you to really think into this for a moment, both as a leader and as the person who's been used in that way for many, many times. In fact, you might be right now, today, as a leader, as a manager, as a shift leader, running an organization. You may be in that place where you are someone else's Swiss Army knife. Not because it's the best thing for you, not because it's even maximizing your skills, but because you're serving their purpose. Now let's go one level deeper than that. You might be, as a leader, in that role where there's someone currently assigned above you, whether they've assigned themselves or within your organization they've been assigned, or maybe you just kind of fell into this relationship with them where they look at you as a little bit beneath them. And so they call on you to do things for them that they don't want to do for themselves. And it'll come to you with a lot of accolades. You are so good at this, or you're wonderful at that, or I love the way you do this. And it's really not your calling. It's not the best use of your gifts and talents. It's just that, well, you're their Swiss Army knife. When they look in the toolbox of all the things that need done, you're the easiest one to pull out. And so they will pull you out of the box and apply you to whatever problem they have because you have the skill set to do it and the willingness to do it, and it's easy for them. Understand, this doesn't just happen in organizations where one person is assigned above the other. This happens in relationships. It happens in friendships. It happens in strangerships, where someone will see you and say, hey, can you help me carry these bags? Would you mind opening that door for me? Those are fine on short run, but when people get used to you being the person they always turn to get something done that they don't want to do themselves, you'll be picking up garbage for a lot of people. And while there's a season in every leader's life where that's absolutely essential for maturity, there's also a season in your life where your best gifts and talents will be wasted on someone else's success if you're not careful. And the next level of that same concept digs really deep into the heart of leadership. We've talked many times about the idea that when you begin to find success, the people around you, sometimes they get jealous. The people around you, especially those that are even with you or above you, they feel like, I can't let them succeed because I'll look bad. I can't let them display their achievements because then I will look like an underachiever and they will look like an overachiever. And I can't let them excel. Think back to the silly little movie, The Incredibles, and how Dash always wanted to play football or run track, and they wouldn't let him until the very end of the movie, and they finally let him, and he takes off, and they're like, go Dash, go! And he takes out, he's just blistering because he's got superhuman strength and speed, and he's just blistering the whole pack, and they're like, slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down, at least make it look fair. Well, there are a lot of people in your life, and you may be one of them, who, if you gave it everything you have, you'd be like Dash in a foot race. Nobody stands a chance. The problem is you're surrounded by people who, rather than work to be faster themselves, rather than push to catch up with you, would rather hamstring you in the race, tie your shoelaces together, grab hold of your sleeves, pull on your waistband. Oh, we saw it for the first time, I think, ever, in the same tackle in a football game in the NFL this last week. The defensive tackler grabbed both the horse collar and the face mask. And it has never been seen before, to the best of my knowledge. It was a double penalty on the same player. And at one point, the commentators were calling it a horse mask. It's just anything you can do to get the guy to the ground was kind of the approach. And I'll tell you, in leadership, when you excel at something, when you are so good at something that people stand around you and go, how do you do that? There will always be someone willing to horse mask you. There will always be someone who's willing to pull on you in another direction, to drag you down. Sometimes it's just drama. Sometimes it's in your career. Sometimes they'll sabotage other relationships that are critical for you. They won't give you the exposure that they know they could. They would never turn and go, they are so good at this thing, you ought to see them. No, they'd rather push you to the back and step in front and go, I can do that too. Maybe not to the same level, but I can really do that too. That's the same as having a rope around your waist in the race, or tugging on your shirt while you're trying to run away, or horse masking you while you're trying to run for the touchdown. Now, there are people in your life that are leaders above you, leaders that are peers to you. Sometimes, sadly, even people on your team, people that trust you for leadership, apparently, and yet they will sabotage you along the way. All of these things will keep you from discovering something critically important. And sometimes the greatest weapon against your success is success. I want you to noodle on that for a second. Don't let that slide by you. Sometimes the greatest weapon against your success is success. Now, what would that look like? Well, that would look like getting an award for something that's good, but it's not your best expression. It's not the thing that if you did what you're really uniquely gifted at, everybody in the world would stand around with their mouth open going, wow, that was awesome. So if we can find that one thing, and other people who want to control you, they give you awards at other levels. They give you successes at other levels. They give you accommodations at other levels. They give you accolades at other levels. You never strive for that because you've already been rewarded. You've already gotten the pay raise. You've already got the promotion. You've been promoted to the highest level possible in the thing that's only second rate in your capability. Does that resonate with anybody? Does that poke you right in the heart? You wonder, why do I get all of the top awards in this category, but I still feel unfulfilled? I was listening at the same time, a video this morning of Simon Sinek. And somebody asked him, and I believe it was on an interview. I didn't share it. I usually would, but I didn't share this one. He said, there was a long time that I was in my job, and I loved my job, and I loved what I was doing with my job, and I had fun with my job, and I was good at my job, but then I just got bored with it. I hated going to work. I loved what I did. I loved the people that I served. I just hated going to work. And he said it took me understanding that I knew what I was doing, and I knew how to do it well, but I didn't know why. I didn't know why I was doing what I was doing. And it was when I discovered why that everything changed. Now, if you don't know anything about Simon Sinek, you'll want to go back and do a little research on him. His major breakout into the world of leadership. He's been teaching leadership and speaking for a while, but nobody knew who he was until he did a TED Talk. And that particular TED Talk has had millions, maybe even in the tens of millions of views now. All he said was, you've got to discover your why. And here's how I discovered mine. His purpose hasn't changed. His knowledge hasn't changed. His awareness has. John Maxwell says the two most important days in anyone's life. Number one, the day they're born. And number two, the day they find out why. Look, if you're being driven by your purpose, if you're doing what you're made to do, if you're living out what you were put on this earth for, that's awesome. That's also rare. It's really more common that the 1% of the world, the 1% of the Tom Brady's and the Tiger Woods and Serena Williams, 1% of them make it to the place where their greatest gifts, their greatest talents, their greatest achievements, their greatest awards and accolades are all lined up. The very best thing that they can do in their life, the very best thing they have to bring to the world, they all come together in this one place, and it's what the world knows them for. For the rest of us, we spend a lot of our life serving other people's purpose, contributing to their dream, offering our gifts and our talents and our skills to their achievements. In a season, that's not only acceptable, it's required. There's a season as a growing leader that you're going to have to be willing to say, I will step in the shadows, I will stand in the line, out of the limelight, I will get behind somebody else and push them to success, because that's what it means to be mature, to move the spotlight to others. And there's a season where you need to learn the humility of saying, it's not all about me. I'm going to help others succeed and achieve. And as a leader, part of your role is to help to develop the leader within the other people, to help them find their purpose, their why, their greatest passions, their greatest gifts, and how those talents align. And it's also part of your job as a leader to be willing to step aside when someone else has a skill set you don't have and acknowledge them. Move the spotlight. Know when it's not your turn. Know when it's not your place. That's an important role as a leader, to be able to say, that's on them. They're so much better at that than I am. And I'm willing to acknowledge that. Until you are, there may be some roadblocks in your leadership. But as a leader, you should both be personally seeking the very best opportunities for the very best gifts, skills, and talents that you have to align your purpose and your passions with a plan. Make that plan to change the world, whatever it is, but they should all come together, and it should draw out the very best in you, your why, put to work. And you should also be busy as a leader about finding all of those people that you lead, that you influence, whose life you speak into, whether you mentor them or they work for you, and help them discover why as well. It's not your job to subdue them or use them as your Swiss Army knife to just get things done. Your job is to help them achieve their greatest successes by discovering who they are. I challenge you as a leader. The greatest 2 days in anybody's life is the day that they're born and the day they discover why. As a leader, you should be busy discovering your why and helping others to discover theirs. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.
Loren is a master teacher on storytelling, and I learned so much. I'm really going to have to sit down and go back through everything, and I think I might have to have some more coffees with Loren, but it was totally worth my time, and I really highly recommend it if you're looking to grow your ministry, grow your business, grow your career. Loren will serve you well.